what's your takeaway from this Philadelphia Eagles game? Does it say more about the Dallas Cowboys or does it speak more about Philadelphia?
Um, I think it speaks more about Dallas's defense.
Okay.
To put on the masterclass it did for sure. I mean, the Eagles' offense only scored 6 points. And the offense is high powered and is strong. Goddard was back. The offensive line was there. Everybody was pretty much healthy, and to shut them down like that. I think the takeaway is this Dallas defense is legit. They have not had Diggs for a long time.
Mhm.
But they were able to put on a master class. Micah Parsons was able to put on a show. Um, Deron Blanche, Stephon Gilmore, especially, he was really good in his matchup with AJ Brown, and they put on a masterclass. And I think that's the takeaway you have to get. Dak played a clean game.
Definitely.
He played a good game for sure. He had the one little sack
Fumble.
on, but
Mhm.
but other than that, he played a good game for sure. But I think for the most part, you like I say Dallas, but in the same time, Eagles losing like they did back to back weeks. Some people pointed to they were gassed out. Some people pointed to this tough stretch, but in reality, you have to make one of these two games competitive. I mean, Dallas was undefeated at home, undefeated I think in the last 3 years in Dallas. When they play Philly,
Really?
but
Yeah.
at the same time, you got to make it competitive. And you mentioned it. There was no Fall Shores being nice. There was no chance in this game to win this game at all. They had no opportunities really. There was the one opportunity coming out in the third when they got the strip sack.
Mhm.
Jalen Carter scored. You're looking at the score, it's like, all right, it's 12-24, right? That's not terrible. We get a stop here. But they just really Dallas was able to do for the most part whatever they wanted to do. For the instance, I want to talk more about Eagles. I'm sure Joel is going to talk about the Cowboys. But for the Eagles, in my opinion, I feel like Jalen Hurts has been a little bit hesitant. There's been reads there that are easy reads. His first read, he sees it, doesn't make the throw, tries to get more yards. And Dan Orlovsky, shout out to him, man, because I've been watching a lot of him lately because I feel like he's the best at breaking down situations. And he broke down the way Jalen Hurts in that game was the first read was there, he'll take the tougher read. Or the second read was there, he makes that play last year, he didn't make it this year. And a lot of it has been just him being a little bit hesitant, taking sacks, not trusting his arm, not trusting that first read. I don't know why he's doing it different, but that defense is not good. But even then, I feel like the pass rush has been a little bit overrated at this moment. We caught Dallas on a good run, and Philly is slumping. They just got their ass whipped by the Niners. This defensive front has to be better. They are the backbone of this defense. If they get no pressure, if they don't get to that quarterback, this secondary stands no chance. And that's the difference between Dallas and the Eagles. I feel like that Dallas secondary can hold their own in certain points of the game. Philly secondary has no chance. Their linebackers have no chance. If that pass rush does not make an impact, this defense is pretty much shell shocked. And if that offense is not, I don't want to say perfect, but if it's not great, then this Eagles team doesn't have a chance. But Dallas did what they needed to do for sure. They put on an impressive performance. But I definitely the takeaway is Dallas's defense is elite. This Dallas defense is going to be tough. And in this division, tied. I looked it up. We do have the tiebreaker if we both went out.
Mhm.
We have like the fourth tiebreaker goes that far. So Dallas has to hope we lose either Seattle, drop one to the Giants, or drop one to Arizona. But they also have to take care of business. They head out to Buffalo, who's on fire right now. So they also have to take care of business. But if I'm Dallas, I am confident in either we go out to Philly or we come out to Dallas. This defense will be able to hold up. And if I'm Philly, enough of the quotes, enough of the bullshit motivational speeches, enough of the dumbass, we got to be better, enough of the analogies. They're stupid. We don't care about them no more. We just got our ass whooped by the Niners. We just got our ass whooped by Dallas. Now it's time to, instead of saying, let's look in the mirror, no, let's really go into practice, figure out what's going on, and let's work this shit out. You got Seattle, you got Giants, you got Cardinals. Nothing really insane outside of Seattle. So you don't have any real test. Giants they have been playing better, I'll admit, but you have a couple get right games before the playoffs, so you need to secure, if not the first seed, the second seed at least.
Mhm.
I'm with you, man. This is shit. There's a lot to get to with this Philly game. First, got to credit Dallas. It feels like it's gonna be a lot of the same shit we said last week from 49ers game, but the same way we credited Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, you got to have the same credit for Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. They went out there and Dak took a pretty strong stranglehold in my opinion, in the MVP race. We've been waiting for really 2 months now since that big loss to San Francisco for I guess really the loss to Philly, because the Cowboys have had all of these great games. Dak has had all these statistical games. Then you go back, and I'm saying it, everyone in the world saying it's like, okay, you're going up, being up in the bad teams, but let's get that real signature win. Let's get that win over a Philly or over another contender so we can really take you seriously. And they did that. Holding the Eagles to 6 points on offense, the fact that the defense outscored the offense is not something I was expecting. I thought this was a game that Philly would be able to move the ball. I knew defensively they were going to struggle because Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy, this offense has been one of the best, if not, top 2 in the league, them in San Francisco, Miami in there as well all season long. And Dak's done a masterful job. They were talking about it really all game long about how he's mastered the footwork of this offense and in this West Coast style. How he's able to, just hit that back foot, boom, hit the read. If it's not there, take off or find someone else. So Dak's done a phenomenal job, but I'm looking at Philly, and there's some real problems with this offense. I know Joel's going to call me a JT O'Sullivan merchant, but I watch damn near every analysis with Jalen Hurts when it goes in.
So is he.
Hey, no slouch here. JT O'Sullivan is one of the best content creators out there, but he's been saying this for months now, where whether it's Kelsey, whether it's Jalen Hurts, they don't have an answer for cover zero. And it's almost not an answer in terms of play calling, but it's at the line of scrimmage when typically when you're facing cover zero, you don't want to get beat up the middle. You don't want to get beat by the center, by the guard. You want to get beat on the outside because that's the longest path it takes for the defender to get to the quarterback. If you're getting beat right up the middle, unless you have some really special quickness and agility like Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, it's going to be really hard to evade that. Jalen Hurts is one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the league, but he's not fast or super quick, right? He's more strength and being able to run over you than kind of evade rushers coming right up the middle. Yep. You saw that all game long. When Dallas was sending cover zero, when they were all out blitzing and just playing man across the board, the Eagles had no answer. You have guys who can win on the outside with A.J. Brown, with Smitty, as you mentioned, Goddard was back. So you have guys that can win one-on-one coverage, but when the defense is getting there so quickly, you don't have a chance. And when you pile that up with 3 turnovers, you have Jalen Hurts fumble, you have A.J. Brown fumble, Smitty fumble, your 3 best players on offense, all making key mistakes at different points in the game. I mean, you have the Dallas go down their first drive, boom, touchdown. Philly's driving down the field. Hurts just makes this great play where he's scrambling to the left, hits Smitty over the middle of the field. They're like, okay, this is the Philly offense we've been seeing. A couple plays later, you run a quarterback draw. Jalen Hurts ends up fumbling the ball, and that kind of just sucks the life out of the offense. And it was almost the epitome of what this game was, because we don't got to sugarcoat it. Philly got their ass beat. I do this upcoming week, because the original question of this topic was, has the Cowboys overtaken the Eagles for the second best team in the NFC? This upcoming week, when Dallas has to go to Buffalo, this is going to show us a lot, because right now Dallas is undefeated at home. I think when they're playing indoors on that turf, you really see this offense being able to hit on all cylinders. Now going into Buffalo, having to win that game in potentially bad weather, you know how that weather gets, because I'm still under the impression that the 1 and 2 seed is going to be San Francisco and Philly. Like you mentioned, Riv, if Philly wins out, they will have the tiebreaker. So San Francisco will likely get that 1 seed. Everything runs through them. But Philly with that 2nd seed, that means Dallas will have a home game probably
first round.
Or no, because they'd be a wild card team. So they might be on the road. They'd be like 11-12 win wild card team, but they'd be on the road the entire playoff. So if they do have to go to Philly, do have to go to San Francisco, maybe this offense isn't clicking as much as they have been when they're playing at home. But we saw them against Dallas just a few weeks ago, where that was a neck and neck game, in Philly a couple weeks ago, where there was a neck and neck game that came right down to the wire, and the offense did look good. But I'm still looking at San Francisco, of course, as the best team in the NFC. But I definitely have some questions about Philly. It's been the defense primarily throughout the season. But now these last 2 weeks, the way that these defenses have really keened in on pressuring Jalen Hurts. If you're able to take away those big plays from A.J. Brown and turn the ball over, you're going to be able to beat Philly. You're going to be able to beat any team in the NFL. If you're pressuring the quarterback, taking away deep shots and getting turnovers. So Philly's got to clean stuff up offensively, because if they're not scoring a lot of points, they're not going to be able to make a deep playoff run.
So concerned or not about Philadelphia?
In terms of what? Like not
the
making
big
the
picture.
NFC champion? Oh, the big picture? Yeah, because of the Niners.
Okay,
Sure.
Concerned or not?
Sure. Yeah, the Niners, to me, are the clear favorite. Not just to win the NFC, but the Super Bowl. I mean, Brock Purdy's playing out of his mind. The defense looks phenomenal. I don't really see a real weakness. I think Joel would mention, which is fair, Brock Purdy coming from behind if he's in that situation. But I'm looking at the rest of the NFC. Dallas looks like the second best team right now, the way they've been playing. But, still got a month left of the season, still got playoffs to ride with. But, man, those 49ers look so damn good.
They are. They're a near perfect squad. Now, who does this tell me more about, the Eagles or Dallas? To me, it's pretty simple. Dallas, because what we've known about the Eagles, it has been their problem all season long, and it's going to be that defense. Now, Dallas offensively, outside of that play where, yes, they were able to sack him, return it for a touchdown, get their only touchdown of the game. When you look at it from this sense, we've known that the Eagles' weakness has been their defense. Now, the last couple of weeks, we've seen their offense struggle, and that's definitely a concern, especially when it's against the two teams in the NFC that if you're the Eagles, you're worrying most about. You're not really thinking too much about the teams underneath them. It was these games versus the Niners and the Cowboys that was going to tell us a lot about Philadelphia. Now, I made that mistake against the Niners, thinking that the Eagles, even at home, where I felt like that would be the reason why they'd come out on top, I felt like the Eagles had a chance to win that game. They came up short. I wasn't making that same mistake when it came to Dallas this time around. When we've had our discussions about Philadelphia and Dallas, whether or not Dallas can beat the Philadelphia Eagles, I felt, hey, look at that first game when they played in Lincoln Field. They were a touchdown away, and the Eagles didn't look that dominating offensively, and specifically defensively. Dak and company was able to do whatever that they wanted. Now you look at this game, Pollard looked really solid. Getting him involved in the pass game these last few weeks has been a huge boost to their offense. Jake Ferguson looks to be like the reliable number 2 option on that team as well. We don't have to talk about CeeDee Lamb, but if you want to, I understand. He's been special, number 3 in yards this season. Another week, another touchdown for CD. He continues to be one of the more dominant receivers in this game. Dallas's team right now is clicking on all cylinders, and why it says more to me about Dallas is because a big narrative on their team was, can they beat a great team in the National Football League? You mentioned that they're undefeated at home. Yes, a lot of these games have been against opponents that are inferior to Dallas. The best competition you could say in this run was Seattle, and that game was close, no doubt about it. And that defense wasn't questioned the most, but against Philadelphia, they executed a great game plan. They made some timely plays, forcing 3 fumbles on Philadelphia's 3 big playmakers, Jalen, AJ, and Smitty, like you mentioned. You look at AJ too, and he was getting himself all riled up with this matchup with Stephon Gilmore. It came out that AJ Brown called Stephon old, and that lit a fire under Stephon. And
don't call him old.
Look at that
receiver. Don't call Stephon old.
You look at that stat line for AJ Brown: 9 catches, 94 yards. To any receiver, that's a great day, and even for AJ Brown, that's a great day. I'd be damned if I didn't get left feeling as if that was the quietest 9 for 94 I've ever seen. Stephon Gilmore seemed to just have the upper hand, forcing that fumble as well, understanding that Dallas's defense did make Philadelphia's offense look pedestrian on top of it. I felt like Stephon Gilmore won the matchup. And also A.J. Brown dropping that pass that Jalen Hurts dropped in right on the dime. And Smitty not only fumbling, but also dropping that touchdown where, hey, if you want to say it was a little bit overthrown, that's fine, especially because I was here when Mahomes slightly overthrew MVS.
Smitty usually catches
but that's why I hit him in the hands, too.
I'll be honest, though. That was more of an overthrow than Mahomes. Smitty really got, like, just one hand and, like, this, you know what I mean? Like, his fingers on it.
I won't disagree too much with you. But, again, when it comes to how I'm left feeling after this game, I feel a lot better in Dallas because now we look at this offense, especially against a division rival. The Eagles' defense is so bad that I don't expect that would be a struggle. But when it comes to playing the Niners, it's still a question for me. But yes, Joel, you're right. This is the top 2 teams in the National Football Conference. Now, Mr. Moran, I know you've been licking your chops waiting to go.
Let's hear it.
Talk to me.
Praise.
Are you left feeling stronger about the Eagles or stronger about the Cowboys?
It's obviously the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are a better team than Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's plain and simple. I think you saw it in the first matchup where the Eagles came away with the win, but you can argue the Cowboys outplayed them in every facet in that game. The second half, the Eagles came out way stronger. And in this one, it wasn't a competition. You can blame it on the turnovers. You could blame it on whatever else. I think the Cowboys were way more prepared. On the first drive of the game, the Cowboys drive down the field. The first drive for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts fumbles. A.J. Brown fumbles later in that ball game. That field goal they had in the first half of the game, that was the first points for them in this game, was made because of a fake punt converted by Braden Mantis-Zaccheaus.
Jet legend.
The Eagles have not found their identity. And this is why they're not going to go back to the Super Bowl. And this is why everybody should be concerned about them. They're not able to handle cover zero pressure looks. Brian Johnson has been a huge downgrade as a play caller from Shane Steichen. And I know all eyeballs want to be pointed at Jalen Hurts, but Brian Johnson is an underwhelming offensive play caller, and there are not many easy buttons in this offense. For as great as A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith have been, they don't create enough separation for their guys with the play calls that are in this offense currently. Then what was the Eagles' biggest strength these last 2 seasons? Their play in the trenches. Jalen Hurts' first year as a starter, they were a dominant rushing football team. Last year, they were a dominant rushing football team. This year, they have not been a dominant rushing football team. And I look at the Eagles and I say, I don't know what your identity is. I don't think they have a clear identity for how they want to play on offense. And too often than not, Jalen Hurts is making things tougher for him than anything else. Because I'm looking at multiple times on film where there are cover zero looks and Jalen Hurts has easy and quick outs on the offense. Instead, he's settling for a goal ball down the field to A.J. Brown instead of getting a quick, easy completion. Or sometimes he's late on throws. The Dallas Cowboys, I think, are proven to be the second best team in the NFC. And I understand that it's very easy to bet on the 49ers. The 49ers look dominant. And yeah, I don't think they have a clear weakness right now. Brock Purdy, from the beginning of the season to now, has grown tremendously as a quarterback. And I trust Brock Purdy. I think he'll be fine. The weakness with the 49ers, I think, is maybe something doesn't go their way in terms of the turnover battle in some type of game. But the best matchup for them are the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think the Eagles can beat the Cowboys again, or they can't beat the 49ers. And I think it's about time we start giving the Cowboys their respect, because Mike McCarthy, when he fired Kellen Moore, everybody said Kellen Moore made this offense. He made Dak Prescott. Now we know Dak Prescott's having his best season ever with Mike McCarthy in his West Coast offense. He's the most comfortable he's ever been. He might win MVP this year. And when you look at some of the stats that the Cowboys have this year, they have I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, 15 straight home wins, which dates back to last year. They have won 8 or more games this year by 20 points, which is setting a franchise record. Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys in 4 seasons is 40-23, which is tied for the most wins since Barry Switzer for the Cowboys in a coach's first 4 seasons. Mike McCarthy didn't get his respect in Green Bay because he was coaching Aaron Rodgers, but many forget that he was a pivotal part in Aaron Rodgers' development. Many people wrote him off, and a common word that I use thrown around for Mike McCarthy is his inability to adapt, his stubbornness. But since week 5, when I thought the Cowboys offense was very stale, they've added much more emotion to it. CeeDee Lamb has gotten involved. Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, everybody is starting to get more involved, and this offense feels more free. So I think Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit for his success in Green Bay now in hindsight, and the success he's having in Dallas.